Great. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Behind me, this is actually a picture by where I was living in California by my house. So that's actually not a Zoom picture. It's a real one I took. So good morning, everyone. It's truly an honor and a privilege to address you today on behalf of New York City Public Schools Office of Safety and Youth Development for We Intervene's ninth annual celebration of school counselors, standards-based, student-focused. I would like to take a moment to thank Natasha Green, CEO and founder of We Intervene, as well as her team. Thank you for all of your efforts to recognize New York City school counselors. For 9 years now, We Intervene's event has spearheaded New York City's celebration of National School Counseling Week. It is so important that we take the time to recognize the accomplishments of our counselors whose life's work is dedicated to serving our students. You may have heard this before. A career in school counseling is a marathon, not a sprint. As you head out to work each day, please know that you are the real heroes of our city, our frontline workers, our students' first responders. You are the heart of our schools. If I may be a bit vulnerable for a moment, I would like to share my story. I'm a product of the New York City public school system. I grew up in Queens and lived in a relatively lower middle class home. It was a strong community. Everyone knew each other. When I did something mischievous, my mother always knew about it before I got home because the neighbors were sure to tell her. The neighbors were the social media of that time. It was June 2nd, 1980, the day my life changed forever. It was the day my mother died. I was 13 years old in the 8th grade. My younger brother was 8 years old. My older brother was 16. Needless to say, our family was in turmoil. She had been a stay-at-home mom. My father worked, and overnight, he became a single parent. In reflecting back to that time, the family dysfunction was palpable. On the outside, to everyone looking in, everything was fine, but I promise you, nothing was fine. I was a Tier 1 student, good academically. I had lots of friends, and I was very involved in so many school activities, including sports. I had near perfect attendance. Nearly every adult at school knew my mother died. Some even came to the funeral. But other than a few I'm so sorries, not one adult in the building checked in with me, or my brothers for that matter, ever to see how we were doing. There was a full-time counselor and social worker on staff daily, and to this day, I still don't know their names. And after the funeral, it was business as usual, but not for me. I was no longer a Tier 1 student. My attendance changed, and my behavior changed, yet every adult at school pretended as if nothing happened. Experiencing this trauma without having a counselor to unpack it with me, it changed the trajectory of my life, and not in a good way, and for my brothers as well. For me, it manifested into physical issues. And 2 years later, by the time I was 15, I was suffering with bleeding ulcers. I had emotional issues and I hid the pain. I cried in silence. I had relationship issues and started hanging out with the wrong crowd. And let's just say they did not have my best interests at heart. I found myself in a reoccurring detention and even was suspended. The dean knew me well, and all he did was punish me more. I remember meeting with him and my father, so even he knew what was going on. Yet the detentions were still issued along with a second suspension, both of which were very low-level infractions. The course of my academic life shifted, which in turn altered the planned and expected course of my life. I was so lost. My self-esteem was in the toilet, and I was drowning alone, and my family was suffering. What I needed at the time was a counselor to help me with my grief. I know that grief often scares counselors because it's hard, and we like to refer out because we think we can't always handle it, or that it's the job of a social worker or other clinician. But all I needed was for the counselor to be present with me, to tell me that everything would be okay and that I was not alone. And then I needed the counselor to teach me the life skills I so desperately needed so that I could walk through life with my head held high rather than hiding in shame. My career began as a school social worker, which I did for 10 years. And then I shifted and became a school counselor for the next 10 years. More so, I became the school counselor that I needed when I was that 13-year-old girl. Here is where the standards-based, student-focused comes in. You are teachers of social emotional learning. It is your responsibility to do the proactive work and teach students the life skills they need to become productive and happy adults, to be successful at their jobs, whatever those may be, to have successful relationships with peers and adults and with employers. Too often you are called to intervene, to handle a crisis, to fix a problem, maybe related to attendance or behavior, and you're very good at that. I ask you to think about the work you do or can do at the Tier 1 level for all students. How are you teaching them to manage their emotions before there is a problem? How are you teaching them to navigate healthy relationships with peers before there is a problem? How are you teaching them to communicate their needs to others effectively and respectfully before there is a problem? How are you teaching them to develop empathy for others who are different than they are? How are you teaching them to see the world with a new lens so that they can make informed decisions? This is the work of a counselor. Your work is guided by standards, and just like all content area teachers have standards, so do you. Yours are the American School Counselor Association Mindset and Behavior Standards. They are the 30 learning strategies, self-management skills, and social skills every student needs to acquire in order to be productive and happy both inside and outside of school. I know you sometimes think you have no time or little time, as you truly are putting out fires all day. I implore you to make the time. Living these standards in your day-to-day work will without question change students' lives, and I mean that literally. When students learn these skills, their confidence and self-esteem flourishes, and it makes it so much easier for them to navigate the next challenging situation. There will be a young lady who is able to set boundaries with boys, and a young man who will learn to respect girls. There will be students who learn not to escalate in challenging situations with peers and teachers, and also learn to de-escalate on their own, just like you do. There will be students who, when hurting, will reach out to you for help. There will be students who learn to have hope and will believe that anything is possible for them, and then suddenly dream bigger than they could have ever imagined. There will be a student who learns to trust himself or herself and will make better decisions. Then that same student will learn to trust others and start to explore the world, which will open up endless amounts of opportunities. Isn't that what we want for our students? To have opportunities? Opportunities just don't happen. We have to create them. And we need to teach students how to create them. And that is the work, guided by mindset and behavior standards. Our mission at New York City Public Schools is to ensure that each student graduates on a pathway to a rewarding career and long-term economic security, equipped to be a positive force for change. If you teach using these mindset and behavior standards to guide your work, you will achieve the mission. There will be significantly fewer attendance issues, behavioral issues, crises, and significantly more celebrations of success. The work is simple, but not easy. So I ask you to consider becoming the counselor I so desperately needed, or perhaps you needed and didn't have either. I know there are students just like me that are hiding in plain sight. What can you do differently? What can you continue to do or do more of? How can you shift your mindset and embed these standards in your daily practices and in your counseling deliverables? What supports do you need? My mentor told me once, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. Your students will appreciate anything you do. Make that anything intentional, meaningful, and purposeful. On behalf of New York City Public Schools, I would like to thank each and every one of you for going above and beyond the call of duty every single day to ensure the success of our students and their families throughout these continued challenging times, perhaps by checking in daily to make sure they are okay and focused. Again, you are the real heroes of our city, our frontline workers, our students' first responders, the true heart of our schools. Today, we celebrate your vision to have students see the trajectory between their daily choices and reaching their personal dreams. We celebrate your tireless efforts to build networks of support with our families and teachers. You are continually attuned to our students' needs, both academic and personal, as well as with their strengths, abilities, and interests. Each one of you is our students' North Star and help them to see the infinite possibilities within themselves. You have truly made a difference in the lives of young New Yorkers and their families through your exemplary dedication, talent, and kindness. As the unprecedented challenges remain from the pandemic, and now with migrant families in need of our assistance, you continue to be a source of unwavering support and a model of reliance. We build better together as we scale, sustain, and restore what works for student success. As you recall your personal desire for choosing school counseling as your own profession, please recognize your own personal resilience and vigilance. You have never lost sight of your goal to help our students. Today, you are the embodiment, the self-actualization of your own vision and dreams. And in your individual journey, you continually help our students develop their own future goals and get closer to fulfilling their dreams. At the end of the day, it's all about the individual student, being student focused, helping the individual student stay the course to pursue their potential. And as this young person thinks back on his or her own school experience, will this student remember you, your support and guidance at a critical time in life? Maybe. I will share with you one of my favorite quotes. If you do what you've always done, you will get what you've always gotten. So I ask you, what will you do differently to get different results? Next week, February 5th to February 9th, is the American School Counselor Association National School Counseling Week. Make sure to take time this weekend and do something special for yourself. I invite you to do something you've never done before to celebrate you and your success. Be creative. What's something you've always wanted to do? And go do that. Self-care is critical for your own wellness, so you can show up every day as your best self. We hope that you continue to take the advantage of today's networking opportunities and leave this virtual event feeling energized and so highly appreciated. Special thanks once again to Natasha Green and her team at We Intervene for making this celebration possible. You are all amazing, and with deepest gratitude, we thank you.